Well, you know what that means. It's time now for Explain and Verify. Now, there's a general concern from various stakeholders that South Africa's roads are falling apart. This is posing an economic threat to the economy and logistics efficiency. Now, we all know road infrastructure is at the center of public economic well-being, and we explain and verify the state of South Africa's road network and infrastructure. Samgere, how are we looking?
Well, Bongiwe, South Africa has a massive road network spanning hundreds of thousands of kilometers across the country. However, the management and maintenance of the road network seems to be in the decline over the past few years. Bongiwe, let's look at the statistics, particularly looking at South Africa's road network within this particular graphic that we'll explain in this point in time. South Africa's road network, 750,000 kilometers, 10th longest network in the world. So South Africa's road network is the 10th largest in and longest in the world. 160,000 kilometers paved road network. 160,000 kilometers paved road network at this point in time, whether it be tar or concrete that is paved at this point in time. 21,403 kilometers managed by SANRAL, the South African National Roads Agency. That is SANRAL managing 21,403 kilometers that are managed by SANRAL at this point in time, which actually our road maintenance at this point in time is at a top tier level internationally, just below the A grade because of the work of SANRAL, one of the very few state agencies that has not yet been embroiled in any allegations of fraud, corruption, malfeasance, or money siphoned out of that particular utility. 47,348 kilometers managed by provinces. So there are provincial roads, particularly when you look at the e-tolls that were championed to be decommissioned by the province of Gauteng. That is a provincial road that Gauteng had installed those particular gantries, which the late Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, had that particular user pay principle, which the ANC and the government provincially led by Panyaza Lesufi, dating back to Paul Mashatile and David Makura, wanted to be scrapped, finally scrapped. 90,701 kilometers are managed by municipalities. This, Bongiwe, is where the problem is at this point in time, provincially and also the municipal roads that are decaying at this point in time.
So what then are we finding as the problem that, you know, is leading to these roads not being fixed at these levels?
Well, Bongiwe, thankfully at this point in time, proportionally of the national road system is poor or very poor conditions is below 7%. So the very poor or poor road maintenance system is below 7%, thanks to SANRAL's strong maintenance and expansion strategy. You just look at the expansion of the N3, which is excellent by global standards. By contrast, the secondary and tertiary road network is experiencing accelerated rates of deterioration, compromising both road safety and also the efficiency of movement of freight within the particular roads of South Africa. As you can see with some of the clips that we are showing, the bridges are collapsing. You go to the Johannesburg municipality, for example, 70% of the bridges in the municipality of Johannesburg under the Johannesburg Roads Agency are at risk of collapse. You look at some of the potholes that are there on South Africa's roads at this point in time, Bongiwe. That tells you of some of the problems faced by South Africa's roads. I do know that some of the roads that are meant to be upgraded, particularly within the next of this particular financial year. There are a number of roads in Johannesburg, particularly you go to your Orange Farm, Bramfisherville areas that are meant to be tarred from gravel into tar. You look at the expansion of the N3, which is a multi-billion rand project that is being rolled out by SANRAL at this point in time. You also go to Tshwane, where they have also faced issues of decay of some of their roads. I won't even speak of eThekwini municipality, where the president has had to send that presidential task team, particularly led by the former Director General in the presidency, and also Michael Mabuya Kulu, to look at the roads of that particular municipality of eThekwini and the entire running of that particular municipality of eThekwini, Bongiwe. Then we go to the road infrastructure decay within the country. Let's pull up this particular third slide of ours that will show you the road decay. This is road infrastructure decay. 25 million potholes in South Africa This was a report in October 2022. There were 25 million potholes in the country. 48,000 potholes reported in Gauteng in a year. So the economic hub of the country, in a year, 48,000 potholes are reported. 4,500 potholes monthly fixed by the city of Johannesburg. That would be the Johannesburg Roads Agency, JRA. About 80% of SA roads have reached their lifespan. This is the Department of Transport. 80% of South Africa's roads have reached the end of their lifespan, which also goes to the situation that is currently there in the city of Johannesburg. The report is out. 70% of bridges in Johannesburg are on the potential of collapsing. Hence, DRA, I saw their advert that they had gone out on tender for those who will maintain and build and reconstruct the bridges that are there in Gauteng. 1.3 million square meters of potholes fixed nationally. This is a report of May to November 2023. 1.2 million square meters of potholes were fixed nationally in the country. That is between May to November 2023, Bongiwe.
And Samgele, one asks, because, you know, we're curious to know, what are the experts saying, particularly when you look at the fact that road networks are experiencing this accelerated rate of deterioration, and it compromises both your safety and myself, you know, and really the efficiency of ensuring that moving freight also does so efficiently?
It's a complex situation here, Bongiwe, because it speaks about the capacitation of the capacity of the state, capacitating the state in order for the state to be able to do its own maintenance. You've got Tony Rachuna, the MEC of Public Works, Roads and Transport in Limpopo, who is speaking about building the capacity of the state, particularly at Public Works and Transport, with his decay project of where the government goes and fixes gravel roads and tars roads within that province of Limpopo, rather than relying on the Roads Agency of Limpopo, RAL, in order to go out on tender. Because once you go out on tender, the quality of the road maintenance and road construction begins to become the question, because private companies want to maximize on profits and less on expenditure on the work. But let's bring in an expert within the field, Mr. Gundo Wasimi, who is a lecturer of civil engineering at the University of Cape Town. A very good evening to you, Mr. Gundo. Just a brief explanation, particularly on South Africa's road network infrastructure and the decaying roads that we are currently seeing on the roads as you compare them to yesteryear. South Africa used to have a world-class road network, but at this point in time, you look at the various municipalities, the road infrastructure is decaying. You go to Mafikeng, as an example, in the Northwest Province, and some of the municipalities like Moses Kotane, it's a festival of potholes. The late leader of the IFP, Mangosuthu Buthelezi, used to say it's like a swimming pool for frogs to bath in those potholes.
Yes, Samkelo, you are correct, and I like the way you have put the figures out. Let's look at it like this. We have done about 4 studies in the last 2 years. The first one was Matatiela Municipality, where we looked at how much they set aside as their budget for roads versus what they spend. And we were able to conclude that looking at their road network and the state that it's in, it will take them 70 years if the roads are not decaying any further to be able to arrest the problem. So it just tells you that it's impossible. We did the same for a municipality in Mpumalanga. The study was done by Arnold Mashego, and we found it was about 60 years. The third study, which was done by Caris in the city of Johannesburg, Caris Southland, she found that because we call fixing roads pothole patching, when we measure how executives are performing, we look at how many potholes they've patched. So what they end up doing, they go and patch things that are not potholes on the roads. There are roads that need resurfacing, where you have to mill the asphalt and replace it properly. So if you are not measured on that, you are measured on fixing potholes, and you must count 1 to 3. So you will go and patch something that is not a pothole. We also realized that most of the potholes that were patched were opened again within 2 or 3 months. So the executives would have performed, and they said he or she has patched 2,000 potholes, which was the target for that quarter. They have performed, but within a month, they are opened again. However, if we overlook this, all the national roads that are under the responsibility of SANRAL, they are actually just over 14% of all the roads in the country. The ones that are under the provincial government departments, they are around 30%. So the bulk, which is just over half, really, if we leave gravel roads out, if we add gravel roads, it will be by far more than half of the roads. They are under municipalities. Municipalities are not funded in a way that even if they had all the efficiencies, they were going to be able to manage the roads. The reason is that it was anticipated they would be collecting from the communities enough money to do this work, but they are not anywhere close to collecting. The municipalities that will have better roads are municipalities that have people that are much well off and that are able to pay their rates. So before we even go into how that money is managed. So this is a multivariate crisis, which in many instances municipalities prefer to build new roads as opposed to fixing old ones, because there is no credit for politicians in fixing roads as they would be in actually building new roads, so that it is known that this road was built during so-and-so's tenure as mayor. So it's a multivariate crisis that we are facing.
Mr. Kundo, when you look at the capacity of the state, does the government have the necessary capacity and grit in order to resolve some of these challenges that are there within the road infrastructure within the country and the road network?
The capacity is not there, and I'll put it like this. The almost 130, 140 municipalities in the country, they do not have an engineer or a technologist trained on roads. Technologists can be trained on at least 5 different disciplines that we can talk about. So it means the person that is in charge of road infrastructure may have studied roads for less than 2 years at an institution of higher learning. So that is the knowledge that will be managing that backlog of 197 billion rands of backlog in terms of road maintenance. So a big portion of that is managed by people who have not studied pavement maintenance for more than 2 years. So you can tell that there's no capacity. The second thing is that very few municipalities have facilities to do road resurfacing, never mind where a road has to be properly rehabilitated. And it's easy to manage roads. If you build a road now and in 5 years' time, you just come and spray the asphalt, just the top part, so that it's waterproof, that road is as good as new. But if you saw the kilometers of roads that have reached the end of their lifespan, that actually tells you that they were neglected until the routine maintenance was not done. Reactive maintenance was also neglected until the road failed, going right into the base. So we have got a challenge that no municipality is capacitating itself to buy the right equipment so that they can do it themselves. To go on tender for this, you probably paid 3 or 4 times than you would have paid if you're doing it in-house. But the question is, if you are doing it in-house, do you have people who are qualified to preside over handling asphalt, which is not straightforward, because it's hot mix that actually works better than cold mix. So there are all these variables that we need to consider. And I think the solution must start to go in the direction of, we have water boards for water that are starting to go into municipalities and taking over some of the work. Maybe we need to have structures that sit in some instances at district level, which are properly capacitated with people that understand what needs to be done, and they can dispatch teams, plan maintenance, and not be interfered with by politicians in terms of where the budgets must must go.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Kunda. We will definitely engage with you further, particularly on the role of consultants and also the private companies that are given the tenders in order to maintain and to build these particular roads. We'll engage with you in the future. Well, those were the professionals, particularly when you look at road maintenance and construction. You look at Central. Central has the network that is speaking to the roads that is concrete, particularly when you're driving to the Free State. That is very expensive, and hence Central has stopped building roads using concrete and has resorted to asphalt because asphalt is less expensive. When you look at the cost of road infrastructure maintenance within the country, you look at a pothole repair. Pothole repair costs between 700 to 1,500 square meters, and that also speaks to whether it's asphalt, Bongiwe, or it is concrete, particularly when you look at the road infrastructure going towards Bloemfontein, leaving Gauteng, where there is road construction at this point in time. They are spending about 1,500 rands per square meter because it is concrete. 200,000 billion rands maintenance backlog nationally. 200 billion rands road maintenance backlog nationally. 673 million rands to repair 500,000 square meters of potholes in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. 500,000 square meters of potholes in KwaZulu-Natal. 673 million rands is needed within that province of Tamintuli in order to fix those potholes within that particular province, Bongiwe.
And I see now we have the vehicle population as well, so that we can see how these roads are impacted by this too.
Well, Bongi, when you look at the vehicle population within the country as of 30 September 2024, plus minus 12 million vehicles on the roads nationally within South Africa, 356,000 minibus taxis that are there within the country, 397,660 trucks that are there. You'd remember many South Africans complaining about the trucks, particularly when the rail infrastructure was damaged. You'd remember the accidents that would take place between the road network of Mpumalanga and the province of KwaZulu-Natal in the Pongolo areas where the trucks used to transport the coal going to the Richards Bay coal terminal. The number of trucks that are there also on the N3 as well. 2.5 million light-duty vehicles on the road. That is the vehicles that you and I drive on a day-to-day basis. That is 2.7 million light-duty vehicles on the road. 580,000 vehicles sold each year, Bongiwe, within the country. And that, Bongiwe, sums up South Africa's road network is approximately 750,000 kilometers long, making it the 10th longest in the world. National roads are managed by SANRAL and are largely kept and maintained well. However, the condition of most of those paved provincial roads is substandard. The country cannot afford to have a road infrastructure network that is failing, because you look at an N3 route that is one of the biggest artillery networks that is used for economic growth of the country, to import and to export goods in and out of the country, and is a gateway into the African continent.
And certainly a very important conversation there, Samgele, one that looks at the impact of the roads and thinking about the fact that right now the weather is also adding, to the woes that some of the officials have to deal with as far as roads are concerned. But that's how we wrap up Explain and Verify for this week. So do look forward to another installment to see what the team is going to be telling us about, what we need to know when it comes to some of our pressing matters.